On May 16, 2025, Colonel David Levin pilots his F-15 Oirom fighter, call sign Sword 11, leading two formations breaking into Yemeni airspace at 24,000 feet. The jets are running dark. MCON alpha condition means there are no radar emissions and radar silence, except for mission-critical communications. Intelligence has confirmed these ports are received, leaving Iranian weapons shipments destined for attacks on Israel and international shipping. This means this isn't just another strike mission. It's about protecting their loved ones back home. The desert coastline of western Yemen rises on the horizon. Visibility isn't great. Coastal humidity creates a light haze that extends about 15 kilometers. A preloaded coordinate for bursts 3 and 7 at a data port, where satellite imagery has detected unusual activity over the past 3 days. Temperature signatures from these warehouses don't match their surroundings, a telltale sign that something is not as it should be. At 1500-4400 hours, Sword 11 descends to optimal weapons release altitude. The internal navigation system counts down to the launch, 87 seconds and closing. This strike package is flying completely on internal systems. No GPS signals that could be jammed, no radar emissions that would give away their position. The F-15s maintain each jet position to maximum coverage of the target area while minimizing the chance of detection. This is when the squadron's thousands of hours of training pays off. The F-15 Oirom these pilots are flying is Israel's customized strike variant of the F-15 E-Strike Eagle, optimized for deep penetration missions like this one. Looking at the aircraft's wings and fuselage, there are 11 hardpoints capable of supporting a total payload exceeding 23,000 pounds. Its twin Pratt and Whitney engines push the aircraft to over Mach 5, giving it the speed and range needed to strike targets across the region with minimal warning. At 50, Sword 11 visually acquires a data port superstructures, twin cranes rising more than 100 meters above the western dock. The targeting system overlays precision aim points on the cruise displays, highlighting a row of warehouses. Levin's breathing quickens slightly as the weapons officer activates the master arm. All systems are now hot and ready to fire. There is no going back now. The aircraft banks slightly deport, bringing the fuel storage tanks beneath the targeting radical at precise from the rail. The F-15 lightens instantly as the 340-kilogram munition clears the pylon. 4 seconds later, the formation splits, each jet banking hard in opposite directions. Rampage missiles streak toward the coastline, leaving thin vapor trails against the clear sky. The F-15 eyes range and low-level flight capabilities allow the Israeli package to approach the Yemeni coast without radar detection, preserving the critical element of surprise. Without this platform, 1,600-kilometer on refueled combat radius, the IDF would have needed to launch from much closer, risking early detection by Houthi air defenses. But the mission is far from over, and that is where this pod comes into play. At 1,400-4,700 hours, Sword 11 activates the Lightning Pond's wide field search mode. The central display instantly transforms, overlaying thermal imagery of a data port in striking detail. Features cut through the coastal humidity like it isn't even there. The flare system automatically adjusts gain settings to optimize contrast between the ambient desert temperature and the heat signatures coming from port infrastructure. Data facilities appear in crystal clear detail, cargo loaders moving between buildings, and most importantly, 2 warehouse structures showing unusual heat signatures. One building in particular stands out. Its surface temperature is almost 4 degrees Celsius, higher than surrounding structures, despite identical sun exposure. That's not normal for a standard warehouse, and the crew knows they are right on target. The warehouse matches intelligence assessments of a suspected weapons cache, but visual confirmation would be better than just a heat signature. Then, as if on cue, the pod's cameras detect a box truck backing into the western loading bay. The lightning thermal sensors pick up the temperature difference between the truck's cargo area and exterior, a pattern consistent with the hot metal of munitions holding heat much more than their surroundings. That seals it. They found their primary target. The Rafael Lightning 35 targeting pod the pilot is using now is Israel's most advanced electro-optical sensor suite for precision air-to-ground strikes. Mounted on the starboard intake station of the F-15, it combines forward-looking infrared, CCD TV, and a dual-mode laser designator in a single housing. The entire system weighs about 200 kilograms and provides targeting capabilities that would have required multiple specialized aircraft in previous generations. In one package. At 15:48 hours, the Lightning Pod begins laser designation of the warehouse, emitting coded pulses that bounce off the target at precise intervals. The system automatically compensates for the F-15's movement, keeping the laser spot within 15 centimeters of the aim point. Despite the aircraft's movement during flying, the Popeye missile seeker head picks up these reflections, confirming lock with a 97% probability of head. The weapons officer confirms the solution at Levin orders weapons free. The missile drops off the rails, followed by main engine ignition, less than a second. Later, the Lightning Pod immediately switches to battle damage assessment mode, widening its field of view to capture the entire target area. Impact is nearly instantaneous. The warehouse roof temperature spikes to over 1,200 degrees Celsius as the warhead penetrates. Multiple secondary explosions followed at 2-second intervals, confirming what they had suspected all along. This was a major weapons cache. The Lightning Pods, auto track, and laser designation enabled precision strikes on dual targets while maintaining radio silence. Without it, pilots would have relied on GPS-only coordinates, useless against mobile convoys or rapidly changing situations. The suspected weapons cache transformed a speculative strike into a verified hit. But while electro-optical guidance handled known targets, the team still needed to locate buried or radar-shielded threads. That's where they'd have to break MCON to use their primary radar. At 15:48 hours, Captain Sarah Navin and Sword One for banks towards Sale of Port for the second phase of the operation. But there's a problem. Meteorological sensors detect a thick cloud formation directly over the target area, of scaring almost 90% of the port facilities. The Lightning Pod's thermal image can barely penetrate this level of moisture. Passive sensors won't cut it. They need to go active. This is a critical decision point. Going active means breaking MCON, potentially alerting Houthi air defense networks to their presence. But without radar, they can't see the target. Navin weighs the options: abort the strike or accept the increased risk. The mission is too important to abort. She makes the call going active. She announces activating the NPG-70 radar system, the powerful sensor switches from terrain following to synthetic aperture mode. After a brief warm-up sequence, the radar begins mapping the ground below, penetrating the cloud cover that blocked visual sensors. The aircraft is now emitting signals that enemy systems could detect, but its side of suppression technology minimizes the chance of detection at this range. Display renders a detailed radar map of Sale of Port. Storage tanks appear as distinctive circular formations, while berth structures show up as elongated rectangle. Angles extending from the coastline, the SAR imagery builds with remarkable clarity despite the weather conditions and altitude. The radar analysis system highlights something unusual: a structure northwest of the main jetty. Analysis indicates reinforced concrete with steel elements is much thicker than normal commercial construction. The structure's radar return characteristics match those of a hardened bunker or buried fuel storage. This is exactly what they're looking for. Critical infrastructure conceals from satellite observation. It's the perfect target for the Rampage missiles, penetrating warhead. The AN/APG-70 radar integrated into the F-15. I is a long-range multi-mode fire control system designed to support both air-to-air and air-to-ground operations. Located behind the distinctive nose cone, rattle, the system features a mechanically scanned array operating across multiple frequency bands. Looking at the antenna assembly, you'll notice its ability to tilt in both azimuth and elevation, providing exceptional target coverage, regardless of the aircraft's position relative to the ground. This flexibility allows pilots to maintain optimal flight profiles while still mapping and targeting ground structures with remarkable precision. At 1549-1300, the radar detects an electronic emission at bearing 085. Characteristics matching Houthi coastal defense radar, signal analysis shows it's approximately 28 kilometers away, outside effective targeting range of known the air defense systems. He automatically calculates optimal release time and altitude and transfers to targeting data to the Rampage missile system. The weapon status indicator confirms missile readiness with all the data loaded. Only one thing is left to do. At 1549-4002, the Rampage missile releases from the pylon and drops clear of the airframe. Navan immediately banks away, already planning her exit route. The radar has done its job, providing targeting through weather conditions that would have blinded optical systems. Without this capability, the strike would have aborted or hit less valuable targets. Now the missile is on its way to the hardened facility, and its terminal phase is about to begin.